Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. Today is August 31st and we have the markets moving slightly higher here, mostly unchanged though. Let's turn over to the Grain Hedge trading platform. Let's see where we closed off the day. Corn for December trading up a quarter penny. Soybeans trading up a quarter penny as well on the November contract, and wheat in Chicago here trading up 1 cent to 4.84 3/4. Now, what happened in the market? Well, early on in this morning, we did have the outside markets trading lower here, and that was putting some pressure on the grains. But luckily, outside markets were able to kind of turn around a little bit. During the middle of the day, we saw crude oil sharply higher here today. A lot of short covering after a surprise cut to oil production out of a report from the U.S. Basically, the U.S. pumped 9.3 million barrels per day in June, down 100,000 barrels per day from the May figure, and nearly 250,000 barrels per day below the EIA's estimate a few weeks ago. So it was pretty substantial cut to production, and that helped lift crude oil, largest gain since 1990 on a percentage basis. So very, very sharp gain there for crude, and I think that helped out some of the other commodities, particularly the grains. Now today we did have the export inspections out, and you'll notice corn, soybeans, and wheat all coming in above analyst expectations here, or at least on the high side of analyst expectations. Take a look at corn, coming in with 1 million metric tons inspected for export. That's above the 775 to 900,000 metric ton inspections. Soybeans here, 184,000 metric tons compared to the range of estimates from 100 to 200,000 metric tons. And wheat, 600,000 metric tons here inspected for export. That is basically well above the expectations, which range from 275 to 400,000 metric tons. So very positive here for the grains in terms of moving grain out of the country this week, and I think that also helps support the grains. Now when you look at the weather outlook, you'll notice that it is going to be hotter than normal across the Midwest this week and also next week. We'll talk about the extended forecast here in a bit. But you'll notice this week, hotter than normal across the grain belt with very little precipitation. So it's going to be a little bit drier this week. But when you start to look out at the 6 to 10 day and the 8 to 14 day forecast, you'll notice in the 6 to 10, there's adequate moisture, above average moisture across the Midwest here next week. Also above average temperatures next week, which will contribute to continued maturing of the crop. And there's possibility that those eastern grains, those eastern states will have a crop that may mature a little bit quicker than normal, and that could cause some yield potential to be kind of cut right off the top of corn. So something to consider here, and one of the reasons why Planalytics revised its corn production forecast lower in its latest yield projections that they released out on Friday. Now, when we look at crop conditions, you'll notice that corn conditions did decline this week, down to 68% good to excellent compared to 69% last week. That was within analyst expectations, in line with them. Basically, analysts were expecting to see a slight decline there. Corn is 92% doing, and we also have 60% of the crop dented compared to about 60% on average over the last 4 years. When you look at soybean conditions, you'll notice they maintained their levels here, 63% good to excellent compared to 63% last week, and that was actually above analyst expectations. Expectations were for soybean conditions to decline a little bit this week. That is something we just didn't see, and so that I think will likely continue to weigh on soybeans a little bit here. I know that when we look at those conditions, and then you take a look at the Planalytics yield forecast there that they came out with last week, you'll notice that they did increase, Planalytics increased their yield forecast there up to 46.2 bushels per acre from 45.9, basically saying just optimal growing conditions throughout a critical part, which was August, a critical part of the growing season. So basically what we're seeing here is continued strength out of soybean conditions, and that's likely to weigh on soybeans here in tomorrow's trade, maybe even tonight's trade. Other than that, guys, that wraps up today's show. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, please give the office a call. The number is 877-472 4607. And remember, if you haven't done so already, take a demo of our 14-day free trial. See what it's like to have live quotes in the palm of your hand. See what it's like to be able to go over to your desktop, view the live quotes, be able to place a trade, and of course be able to call in to a broker that specifically focuses on grain to be able to help answer any tech problems, any trade questions that you have. That's one of the great features of Grain Hedge over here. So thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here on Tuesday.